All right, thanks everybody for joining in. This is going to be what do I call this? The Gateway 13 for this week, February 2nd to, I think it's the 6th, and I'm traveling, so I'm at a park, so you may hear some background noises. The sound in these computers is really, really powerful. So this is February 2nd, so you guys were all of us are coming off this full moon in Leo yesterday. And what an impact. Just so many friends' lives have just blown up for the better. Just like all the truths have come to the surface. People are fucking done with whatever it was they were holding on to, what illusion. And people were having to face some truths. And of course, on the smokescreen level of the larger media world, we have some Epstein files revelations having light put on them, so kind of light out of the darkness. And it's their very convenient smokescreen, but it's also the truth of what Pluto is doing in Aquarius, how it's purifying technology and the technological aspects of the higher mind, what Aquarius stands for in its kind of cold mental beingness and its representative factors in tech and the collective control of populations and environments. And this purification will continue, but on deeper levels we have still very slowly unraveling what this Pluto Cazimi, the sun, in these last 6-7 days, well, prior to this full moon in Leo, we had the January 20th to the 26th, or 27th, Pluto going through all the planets rather, visiting the underworld or being abducted into the underworld by Pluto. And then the culmination being on the 27th, that Mars conjunct Pluto, causing action, momentum. It's giving us all the momentum we have right now. And so all of us were quickly manifesting and moving forth in our vision. It's very powerful. And so as that has been moving, we now we're beginning to, let me add this. There was also, of course, the added detail and nuance of Neptune having gone into Aries. And this was last Thursday, so it was around the 27th, 28th. And so I think everyone felt that as soon as Neptune went into Aries. So now we're looking at, today's the 2nd, so on the 5th, there's going to be an opposition to the eclipse point of last September 21st, 22nd. And that's going to be Saturn opposing, if I'm remembering clearly what that aspect is. And then the next big cycle completion will be on February 14th, and that's the end of it. That's when Saturn will go into Aries, and then we have the build-up that starts right there towards the Aries vortex, the perfection of Neptune and Saturn. And just so much is going on. I should save this, of course, for a separate video, but I thought I'd just add it in here real quick since it has to do with where the sun is going to be for the next 6 days. So right after this full moon in Leo, we have the sun going in to an Aquarius gate, and this is gate 13. This is a collective gate. You can see it right here on the human design diagram. It's coming off the G center, so it's about direction, and this is the direction towards revelation. So if this is not right, right on apt with what is occurring in the current skies, it's right on. So 13 is the gate of the listener, but it's also the gate of revelation because it reveals the secrets that are hidden in the gate 33. And thus there's a complete channel there called the channel of the witness. So the role of the 13 is to witness, to listen, to allow what needs to be heard, to allow the secrets to come out, and for the correct things to be revealed and released. and expressed. And Ra talked about this, and he talked about it in terms of what this line is in his Rei Ching, and he said, universal ideas and values in an ordered framework which inspires humanistic cooperation. And so this is part of a collective channel. So it's about the collective. And these next 6 days, 5-6 days, we currently don't have activation in the 33. So doing listening and just being present and witnessing is really important. A lot of my friends have been contacting me just wanting to share what they're going through and the shattering of old illusions coming forth. And I know that at this time it's correct to really just listen. Just be there and actively listen and hear. Not just hear, rather. Listening is a different step from hearing. We can hear things, but to actually listen is a different presencing. Now, in Gene Keys, Richard Rudd, he focuses more on the levels of what it is to be in a human body and to listen and record information. So he sees this as the deeper aspects of the memory of human consciousness. So the 13 as the holder and the collector and the record of human conscious memory. And this relates all the way back to our beginning, of course. And he carries this forth to create this contrast in the shadow aspect of this particular gate 13. So, whereas the true aspect of this gate is in listening and being able to record information. And the name of this gate in the I Ching is the Fellowship of Man. And so again, another collective layer. Now, Rudd talks about the part of the gate in shadow as discord. And the discord he's talking about is the inability of humans to actually listen to others beyond the interest of their desires. And so he talks about this because of the shadow of gate 30 and how it's related to this particular gate. The programming partner of the 13 is a 7. And the 7 is about the future. And the 13, as I've been saying, is about the past. And it's very interesting. Rudd also brings up how it's about how we process our past. And he makes the correlation with gate 30 and how we digest our past. And the correlation with how we eliminate waste in our body. Having to do with how we process what's happened to us, how we deal with trauma, how we process trauma, how we heal, how we re-embody ourselves, how we remember ourselves back together after the traumatic experiences we have in this realm. Now, the dilemma he brings up is pretty intense. I mean, he gets to the point, again, coming back to this kind of shadow aspect of Gate 13, which, again, is discord, the inability to listen. And he claims this inability to listen is our inability to see things free from our own desires. This is really evident in how human beings personalize our connections with others on every level, all the time. And this has to do with our inability, he claims, to overcome our raw desire. He says desire always wins. It always wins out. And he says that with the advent of the rave after 2027, after the change of crossing to the sleeping phoenix, that desire will no longer rule out. And I think he's implying that the rave will not be motivated by desire. There's no doubt that humans are motivated by desire every day as we experience it in these days. Like all we see every day is the culmination of that. Desires clashing. And he has a good point here, but it's very interesting that he sees no faith in the ability of humanity to overcome its personalized desire, and to overcome it through actively being present for others. And I think what he's saying is that it's a very difficult test for humans to make that transition, because it's a sort of death. When you're listening, he makes this distinction. He says, when you're empathizing with another, there is no other. You are them. So you become one with them in that empathy. Where he says, as with sympathy, there's always two. You sympathize for someone else, you acknowledge what they're going through, but there's still a separation. And so this interesting distinction leads to the gift that Rudd talks about in Gene Keys, which is discernment. And it's kind of a meditative perception that he allows to spring forth, in acknowledging how deeply, just kind of sharing how deeply our view of others is connected to our feelings, and how our thoughts build our feelings into the kind of miasma that we all kind of cycle through or circle through in our minds, building up our feelings, and thus becoming a victim of our emotional cycles, and ultimately a victim of our desires. But what solution? I mean, there's the only solution, it seems, is just kind of the understanding, and I guess it's kind of a Buddhist understanding, that there's no satiating our desires. Like, that's impossible. Desires build, and then there's more and more and more, and then the great example is like the Italian director, I'm trying to remember his name, but he did this film Salo, and this film came out in like the 70s, and it was exposing everything we're learning about right now was exposed in that one film. And it was an Italian director, Pasolini, I was trying to remember his name, and that was in the 70s or 60s, and certainly he didn't die under natural circumstances, but this was an Italian director who had great courage to share forth what was occurring. I don't necessarily recommend watching that film. It is highly disturbing. But there are other great films that he did. And I think with the rising of discernment that Richard Rudd was perhaps, encouraging about, was what he talks about as mythical thinking. And what it is, it's like a practice of learning how to think behind the veil of desire. To view life as such that you're playing a role, you're playing an archetypal role in your life. And I guess it's the realization that we all play out these various storylines in endless variations. And that's our life purpose. Like this is all very, having followed Jung and studied a lot of psychology as well as philosophy, I appreciate the great value in giving archetypes to the lives we lead. Some are here to fulfill, all of us are here to fulfill specific roles. There's no one size fits all on this planet. It's every one of us has our own kind of archetypal role that we play. Some of us it's family person, some of us it's a leader. It's all the archetypes are there. Warrior, all these archetypes are played out in modern clothes, and they're all important and lead to a culmination of destiny, and hopefully a high frequency expression of that destiny in us. Because who we are is presenting itself to us as if in a mirror right now. One way to look at all the transits that are building up towards the Aries vortex is you're rising up to meet yourself. It's not that something is happening outside of us. The Aries vortex is like some, mythical grand portal that's going to open up in the sky and swallow us. No, it's a grand mystical mirror that's going to open up in the sky and show us who we are and where we're at and where our vision is and how to follow true and how to follow forth with our vision. And that's what it is. I mean, the ultimate expression here that's laid down as the city power in Gate 13 is empathy, as I went over. And it has to do with all our memories. And again, what I was speaking about, this kind of death that's required. A dissolution of the individuated self to connect with others, to connect with the all. Now, of course, this is kind of very light-sided, very right-hand path. This is kind of Rod leading into the purpose of the soul is to, dissolve itself and become one with the all. And that's very, that's very right-hand path. And that's very nice. But there's also left-hand path, and, there's other perspective and frames of what the spirit does when it's done with this realm. And it has its choices, and that's for all of us. That's not for me to say where we're going, on an individuated level. But on a collective level, we're all here now in bodies. And that's what's important, and that's what it's about. And, I mean, needless I mention the horrors that are happening in two very specific countries that continue to happen. And we all are hearing it. We're all witness to it. And is it only two countries? No, it's probably more. What do we expect that the media is telling us things exactly as they are? I mean, well, is it 3 countries? Is it 4? I mean, these countries are in my mind as they are in yours as I say them. But the media tells us this, it tells us that. But definitely the revolution that's occurring in one specific country that you all know, that's powerful. And that is powerful evidence to humanity that change here is inevitable. And it could be that the largest meaning of the Aries vortex is that revolution, which will win out. And this week, the energy of the sun is in a gate of being witness. So we're listening and we're allowing others to convey and express what they need to, and to be witness for their new self. We're witnessing everyone as they are now shining in this mirror of the Aries vortex. That's the purpose right now. Thanks so much for listening. I'll try and do a video, another variation of the Aries vortex, because there's just so many permutations and perceptual frames of what it is. And of course, it's right next to the eclipse on the 17th, which is also the advent of the year of the fire horse, Chinese New Year, as well as, there's other stuff too. Okay, so thanks so much for listening. Best to you all.